This song goes out for you guys while you all kind of gather. This is called The Child Grove. It's from the English Dancing Master. Sorry for the noise. It's one of my favorite songs. Isn't that so pretty, you guys? So, so pretty. That is from this magical book. It's called The Child Grove. It's from this fabulous book, Cantiga's Renaissance Festival Favorites. This is the actual band right here. And anyway, there's just their compilations by Melba. You can get this on Amazon. I actually have it on my store. My store, if you're curious, is just amazon.com/shop/violin viola masterclass, and there's all my favorite things there, music and beauty. So anyway, hi, how are you guys doing? Are you doing all right out there in the world? Do you like my outfit today? I wore this outfit for you guys because it's now like one of my favorite outfits, and my lovely rose quartz pendant. Does anyone else like crystals? I am absolutely obsessed with crystals. Love them. So we are going to discuss a few things. Are you guys following me on Instagram? Because hello, thank you for being here. I bother everybody on Instagram on my stories every day. Please join me there. That's where we can stay in touch during the week, and you can see into the life of a music teacher, see what I'm doing, if you're interested. And then I can talk to you guys too. So let's see, let me think of some of the fun things that I did this week. I took you all on a magical walk.
Magical earthlings I had.
Did you hear? The speaker. Did you guys have a special name for your devices? Like instead of Amber's iPhone, it's called Magical Earthlings iPhone. So like Magical Earthlings, AirPods, Magical Earthlings iPhone. It's so funny. That's what I've named all my devices. They belong to Magical Earthling. But anyway, as I was saying, on Instagram, I took you guys all on a magical walk a few times this week. We saw a lovely little spring. We saw all these things. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Thank you. I showed you how to make a fabulous coconut oil and peppermint lavender sugar scrub, right? Keep your skin nice and soft feeling. Costs like $3 to make that scrub. If you're buying your scrubs like online or like at a store, stop doing that. Order some coconut oil, get some sugar, get a nice essential oil. Therapeutic grade would be great. Peppermint and lavender work really well together. And that's all you need: sugar, coconut oil, and an essential oil. And you will have the best sugar scrub, body scrub, hand scrub, whatever you want on the planet. It is like amazing. Oh my gosh, there's 10 of you guys here and there's 2 thumbs up. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Well, I wanted to play you another little tune from the Cantigas Renaissance Festival favorites. Go get this book. It's like $20, maybe $25. You can get it on Shar, you can get it on Amazon. It is very, very well loved, and it's, you know, a bunch of, especially if you're a beginner, like a lot of the stuff in here is very, very beginner friendly. So let me see here. There's another one that I really love. I was playing it on Instagram last night, actually. It's called The Spanish Ladies. This is from England. And it's sung by sailors. So if you out there that like sailing and all of that, this could be your song. Let me just connect my device again, because I like to play with a drone. So let me see here. Since I'm playing on the viola, I need to put this down a 5th. So let's see. So the Spanish Ladies. I'm going to just kind of get up here so that you can this also has words, because it gives you the chords, so you can kind of add your own like little double stops to things, which is fabulous, fabulous. It's just tricky if you're transposing things, like playing violin music but on the viola, and then transposing your chords down a 5th. So I suppose it'll get, get easier with time and practice. But yes. Anyway, are you guys having a good week? Are you guys okay in the world? I have been realizing that I just want to have fun. Who else just wants to have fun? What are some ways we can make every day more fabulous and more fun? So even if it's just one thing that you add to your life, one fabulous thing that, is fun. Because sometimes we just take ourselves a little bit too seriously, It's very easy to take yourself too seriously. I'm like very, very guilty of doing that. And really all it boils down to is just having fun, especially when we're learning something like this. When you learn an art, yes, there is that aspect of, taking everything very, very seriously, being super conscious of what you're doing, trying to strive for perfection. But then on the other side, and at the same time as well, we have to let ourselves just have fun with it, and just enjoy playing. And even if it's a mess, that's fine too. One of the things I've been noodling through this week is you all know I like to play with cello drums and things like that. There's a let me show you this scale book. Intuitive playing is part of the title of this. And so what is intuitive playing? That for me is playing, following inspiration. So for example, and just following my ear. So let's say we're in the key of D, right? You've got 7 notes to work with: D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. So you really have like 7 notes to work with. And if you play a scale, you can kind of do intuitive playing using the structure of the scale. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you don't actually need any music to do this, but let me see. Here's a fabulous book. They have this for violin, they have this for viola. This is for more advanced. But they also have it's just called for young violinists or for young violists. And it's quite hard, but it's really, really good. So let's say you're taking the D scale, right? Let me just kind of figure out where that is. It doesn't have to be a 3-octave D scale. It can just be a 1-octave D scale, whatever. I don't actually know why I'm getting this out, but anyway, I'm getting this out. I'm going to put a D on, which I actually already have, and just listen to this. Normally we practice scales like this, right? Kind of boring. Let me show you. All the way up to, from D to D, and you can intuitively play using the structure of a scale, which would be kind of fun to explore. So you can even do the same kinds of things with arpeggios, probably. But anyway, I just want you to just remember that your instrument time, your creative musical time, is a time also to just kind of let go of that logical side of the mind as well, and just kind of be led by listening, be led by your heart. Hippie moment, so we're trying to get to hippies, that's okay. Just let yourself intuitively play and have fun with everything. And if you're not really sure, even how to play scales, what I was going to say is you can kind of use a hand pattern. So let's say that you're on the G string, because this will work on the violin or on the viola. If you're on the G string, and you just plug in the basic hand pattern, G, and then the basic hand pattern, and then you go all the way from the basic hand pattern to the next G. That's a G scale, actually. And you can do that on the violin too. It's just on your bottom 2 strings. Just plug in that basic hand pattern, and you can intuitively play just using, that hand pattern. Let me show you. So let me put a G on. All right, so we're going to go up the G major scale. you can kind of just make up whatever it is that you want, but you're going to start to hear, especially if you work with a drone, I just had it on G because I was doing a G scale, you're going to hear that the notes actually have a specific way they want to go, you know, if you listen to your ear, use your inner sense of what you want, use that inner artist, right? Tap into your inner ear, it can flow through your instrument too. So experiment with intuitively playing, and you're going to learn about music too, I think, in the process. Because you have to let yourself be open, and then you'll be kind of guided by this inner sense of harmony, which is so magical. It's so magical. And then when you encounter music, when you're reading music, you're going to maybe kind of notice certain little things that you might want to add to it, like your own like little flair for things. So anyway, noodle through things like that. Okay, that is basically my music lesson for the day. I wanted to, we have to finish that article on the ancient Greeks. Fascinating, fascinating. I wanted to also share with you this wonderful, wonderful book by Boethius. And since, we've been delving into the medieval and Renaissance time period for so long, this is a book that was like an essential, there was one of the few books that was actually, available during the medieval time period. There weren't a lot of books available back then. Reminder that being able to read was not a skill that most people had. And so we should definitely cherish that ability to read, not just watching videos, but reading as well is quite important. We actually have access to 1,000 years, maybe more, of writings, Let me see, what year are we in now? So we're in 2020. So we even have things, Julius Caesar wrote down his memoirs, and he wrote all about fighting with the Gauls and what the world was like when Julius Caesar was around. That was I forget when that was. Is that 42 AD? We should look that up. Anyway, there is a wealth of history that is right at your fingertips, and as a human, it would be wonderful to know your history. It's interesting to know your family history. But our human heritage is quite fabulous. And I just love that classical Greek thought. So Boethius was not Greek. He was, I know about this much about him. You can actually Google him. You can search for him as well on YouTube, and he has some music that, he actually wrote a treatise on music to help, us all understand how to write music and create music. And it was it was an important document during the medieval time period for medieval musicians. They relied on Boethius's writing about music and harmony to create, Western music. So Boethius actually, I think he also is responsible for us knowing Aristotle, because he transcribed a lot of Aristotle's work into Latin from the Greek, which was kind of disappearing during this tumultuous time, the language was being kind of lost and considered really arcane, I guess. And so we owe a lot to Boethius, and I hardly know anything about him, but Western civilization owes so much to him. He's kind of, and he wrote this from jail, which is quite interesting. You can read about him. I'm probably going to get a lot of this incorrect, but I am just absolutely loving this. Go buy this on Instagram, on Amazon. It's like a $10 book. But this was one of the most beloved books of the medieval time period. It consoled, everyone from kings to knights to, people in the church probably knew of Boethius. It's called The Consolation of Philosophy, and it's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let me just read you a couple of things. And, to really understand it, you probably need to know a little bit of the backstory of this. So I will tell you my small understanding of it. Boethius was Roman. He had a long history of Roman culture in his blood. And he was alive during kind of the tumultuous end of the Roman Empire, which took, I guess, a long time. But anyway, he was alive during the end of that, and a time when the Roman culture was really being lost. And there was something having to do with a king. I forget his name. He was a foreign king that had come to power in Rome, and Boethius, I don't even think he even said anything to, it was just the fact that he was, from this Roman line, this long Roman line, that the king thought of him as a threat. So just because of his thoughts and just because of perhaps him just being a true Roman, maybe he was thrown in prison. So go fact check that, but that's just kind of what I remember basically, the gist of it. So he's writing this from jail. And what happens to him is basically just like so many great thinkers from that time period, and probably, all the way through human history. Socrates is one of them I can think of. I mean, there's just so many people that have been persecuted just for their thoughts, but he was actually killed, bludgeoned to death. He had a family, children, all of that kind of thing. He was a good person, never hurt anybody. But anyway, he wrote this from jail, and it's the personification of philosophy. So he's talking to, if you've heard of the muses, like the Greek muses, he's talking to this like personified version, the idealized version, a person of like, if philosophy could embody a person, he's talking to this person. So it's philosophy, Lady Philosophy, that's consoling him from jail, and it's just so beautiful how our mind and goodness can kind of console us during turbulent times, or even being in jail, or whatever it is. So it's not a political work. It's not a political work at all. It's just that he lived during quite a political time. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. So let me read you something that I found there's so many things that I found really, really interesting, but today I was reading this little thing here. It said, so Lady Philosophy is talking to him about, there's this whole chapter about happiness, like all men, all of us, men meaning humanity, not just males, but humans, we want to be happy, right? We want to be successful, we want to be loved, we want to maybe have power over our lives, control over our lives, and there's so much uncertainty a lot for us now, so that can really feel challenged. So they're trying to figure out how to always be happy despite, crazy things that happen, despite being in jail. How can you still be happy and know that the world isn't like caving in and crashing in around you? So Lady Philosophy says, this is just a random little quote here, right in the middle of their conversation. She says, first then, that the good are always strong, and that the wicked always bereft of all power. These are facts you will be able to see, the one being proved by the other. For since good and evil are opposites, the weakness of evil is shown by establishing the strength of good, and vice versa. They go on and they start talking about like it's our natural tendency to want to be happy. Whether you're a good person or a bad person, we all just want to be happy. And so as they're talking about walking, she says, you will not deny that the action of walking is natural and human, will you? And he says, no, right? And she says, if then one man is able to proceed on foot and goes walking, and the other man lacks the natural function of the feet and tries to walk on his hands, they're both walking, but one's walking naturally, right? More kind of, we have feet and we can walk naturally that way. But the other person's walking on their hands, so they're trying to get there, but the way that they're doing it is kind of unnatural. That's the point. The how of how you're doing something is a kind of an important thing. So she says, well, the supreme good is the goal of both good men and bad alike. And the good seek it by means of natural activity. And then she says, which is the exercise of your virtues. So by honestly working, by showing up, by doing your best, by learning from your mistakes, because we're all human and we make lots of mistakes, It's okay, just, try to learn from all of the mistakes that you make. Just keep going forward, going upwards, which is natural. Humans like to progress, right? Progress. And then she says, well, the bad strive to acquire the very same thing, right? Being happy, success, power, whatever, by means of their various desires, which isn't a natural method of obtaining good. So for example, have you ever heard of, oh, Sylvia, hello, hello. Have you ever, if you've stolen anything, you get the thing, but your action is not virtuous. You're stealing the thing. And so it's like the way that you're doing the thing, the way that you're getting to where you want to get is not right. And so it's just kind of interesting. I just love that. So, and of course, as humans, we're all capable of a myriad of good and evil things, but it's just really hard to stay right on that good path. And the interesting thing with music, I mean, we could talk about this all day, but the interesting thing with music is there is a truth of harmony, and you can hear this beautiful truth, and you innately can understand what's true about harmony. And so music is like, there are all these layers to what music is, to what an art is, but you can hear the manifestation of truth in the harmony. So for example, if I put a drone on, let me put that back on. Let me see here. Oops. Sorry. This is a major third I'm going to play. But if I'm incorrect with it, and it's the truth of the inner ear which will bring you back in tune. Isn't it interesting that they're so close? Like the straight and narrow path is really, really straight and narrow. And even in music, you can hear that, which is so cool. So even if you're kind of out of tune in your life, you might just need to tweak one thing, So here's in tune. And here's just a tiny bit out of tune, a tiny bit flat. So if you follow the truth of that inner ear, of the inner grasp of harmony, to where does it sound beautiful? You can hear that same thing, with all of the pitches. Here's the perfect fourth. If I'm a little bit sharp on that, that's going to sound really bad. But you can just tweak it a little bit, just like it's a metaphor for your life too, for all of us, right? It's very close. And then there's the truth of harmony. That's the beauty, right? All right, so I just love that. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? I don't want to sound too crazy or too out there, but it's just kind of an interesting concept to discover. Anyways, shall we continue with the ancient Greek article? Why don't I find that? Let me see here. All right, where is my iPad? Here we are. Talk to me, you guys. There's 4 of you here. Tell me what you're doing today. And if you're enjoying this or if it's just completely crazy and not making any sense. Okay. Oh my gosh, I have to tell you. Okay, this is totally frozen. I have signed up to take a psychic development class. I think my iPad's just totally overloaded. This week, we can actually be in the same class if you're interested in that too. And you know me, I like to explore ideas. I like to know what people think. I like to know about things. And so, oh, thank you so much. Thank you. If you also are curious about things and you want to explore, there's an interesting class that I'm taking. It's called Psychic Bob's Psychic Development Class. You know what? Oh, Sylvia, you missed a lot of it. Okay, well that's fine. Thank you so much for talking though. Thank you. Otherwise I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself, which is I don't want to do. I like to talk to you guys. I'm a bit technologically challenged. Let me see if I can figure this out here. I'm going to show you. So, Psychic Bob's Psychic Development Class. It's $30. It's every Saturday. It's 12 to like 2 Eastern Standard Time. And it's just, it's every Saturday. So it's every Saturday. If you want, you can just buy one. It's $30. You can stay, not stay, whatever. But this week we're learning about clairaudience, which is about our inner ear, being able to hear spirit. Oh, hello. Thank you so much for writing. Thank you. And as musicians, it's so fascinating, I think. And to know that we do have this inner sense of harmony. We have this inner ear. We even have an inner dialogue that's talking to us all the time, right? Talking. Usually gets really active right before you go to sleep, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible person, and I have all these things to do, or, wow, I'm awesome, or whatever it is, but usually it's kind of like, a little bit negative, that inner voice sometimes. But there's a lot of things that we're hearing, or that we're listening to, and it would be interesting to know about clairaudience. So if you're interested in clairaudience, too, when you're interested in this class, Psychic Bob is one of my favorite people. He is such a precious, lovely, lovely, lovely person. So you just go to, I'll have to link it below, but you just go to his website, and his psychic development class is right there, and it will take you to a little PayPal thing. You just pay for that. You're right in the class right away. And then the day of, he sends you a little Zoom link to join, and it is just so fun. It is so fun. So I've never done a Zoom class before. I've taught on Zoom, but I've never taken a Zoom class before, and it was so much fun. I took all these notes. We talked about clairvoyance last week, which is the spiritual ability to see, I guess. And so this week we're talking about the spiritual ability to hear. So I am so excited. I'm just so excited about this class. You should come along with me. I've told Patreon about it. I've told my studio about it. I'm telling you about it. I'm going to link this below if you're interested in it, but you just type in, you can Google his website. It's Bob Hickman, or Psychic Bob Hickman. I forget what it is, but anyway, Google that. It'll take you to his website, and then you can go to the psychic development class and learn about clairaudience with me on Saturday. Today, I think, is the last day to register for that. So, because it's Friday and the class is tomorrow. But as I said, there's always a class every Saturday, so you can always, you can come anytime. And I'm going to hopefully be there, because I am fascinated by this kind of thing. So, and that he's a really awesome medium, just a totally awesome medium. He's worked with the police before. He's been doing this for 30 years, and he has thousands of videos on YouTube that, are just amazing. So I love him. I just adore him. But anyway, I was originally going to continue reading you this article. Let me see if I can find it. It's crazy that such a technologically challenged person has been able to achieve anything, because I'm so technologically challenged. There we go. Okay, glasses. Did any of you watch my fashion video? Because I enjoyed making that so much. I love fashion. I think it is a beautiful thing to dress beautifully, and we should dress beautifully because we think beautifully. We are beautiful, and we should, present ourselves beautifully for, as an art piece, I think. So, okay, let me see where we are here. This is the article we've kind of been going through for a little while. It's called Plato and Aristotle on the Ends of Music. Plato and Aristotle on the Ends of Music. Hello, Ivan. Thank you. So I'm going to link this as well too, if you want to look into it. But it is wonderful, wonderful. I also shared the most fabulous performance I've ever heard of Ashwani. Hello, hello. If you look back in your, if you've subscribed, look back in your not recommended, but whatever it is, your videos or subscriptions, there we go, that's the word. And you should see a link to this singing bowl thing that I shared. This was absolutely amazing. And let me just see if I can find it. Your channel, community. Okay, it won't let me look at my own community page. That's fine. If you want to know about, oh my goodness, from India, thank you so much for being here. String Traveler, hello, hello. You know what is so wonderful? I love that we have a small little group. I feel like it's really precious, and I love that there's, just a small little group of us here. And thank you for the 9 thumbs up. Thank you, thank you. It's just really nice, because anyway, I won't get into that. I'm just happy that we're just the small and the few and the fabulous. Okay, where am I? Oh yes, I was babbling about this singing bowl thing. Please look at this singing bowl. This is so fabulous. And if you're interested in understanding like what the ancient Greeks were talking about with music and all of that and harmony, this is just absolutely, absolutely gorgeous. I'm just like trying to find where it was. And let me see, maybe it's in my playlist. I think I saved it under favorites. Sorry, you guys. Sorry. My harp is gonna come back next week, I think. I'm so excited, so excited about that. I don't know where it is. I shared it. I shared the link to it today. I think it's, I'll have to share it again, but I'll post the link below. It's the best singing bowl performance I've ever heard. It's just gorgeous. So I would highly recommend. I literally, it brought tears to my eyes, and I couldn't, I was trying to read, while I was listening to this, but I had to just I couldn't focus on reading. I had to just listen to the insanely beautiful harmony of the singing bowls. It was gorgeous. Okay, so back to this little ancient Greeks article. Let me see here. Don't remember what page we were on. Maybe page 11. I remember that. Okay. I'm going to just start on page 12. There's 14 pages, so there's probably just a little bit left here, and I'll just go ahead and read it to you. So Aristotle then assigns 4 ends to music: giving pleasure, disposing towards virtue, imitating emotion, and giving intellectual enjoyment. The order that he sees, I also think that music is very healing. I think it's just absolutely such a healing thing. And if you can imagine when you need a little extra courage, putting on some music that kind of gives you some courage, magical thing to do. It can also put you to sleep. It can relax you. It can, these singing bowls were just so beautiful, especially if you listen from your heart. And there's going to be moments of dissonance, but it's specific dissonance to kind of jiggle out that stuff that needs to let go. Sometimes we do need to hear dissonance too. Dissonance is beautiful. It's just when it's chaotic and uncontrolled and out of tune that it's really ugly, I think. But if it's controlled dissonance, we could think of night, day and night, light and dark. One's not, ugly, the dark isn't ugly, but if it's full of evil and scary things and, murder and whatever else, then yeah, that's all wrong and horrible. But the night could also be full of fireflies and little frogs singing, and that's beautiful. So, I know, yes, String Traveler, I think you can order one pretty inexpensive. There's a place in Vermont that I really want to go to get some singing bowls, because I just love all instruments so much, but singing bowls would be an amazing thing to have. And my one dream, somewhere on my Instagram, I have a picture of me standing in a singing bowl, and the guy hits the singing bowl, and it's like amazing. It just rattles out all the stuff out of you, and you just feel fabulous afterwards. So sound healing. Okay. I have sometimes the memory of a fruit fly. So let me see. Where were we? Oh yes, we were talking about four ends of music, and I also think there's another one which is healing. The order that he sees between these ends can be inferred from what he says about the principles of education in general, and the place of music in education in particular. Giving intellectual enjoyment will be the highest end and the last to be achieved. Aristotle insists that the perfection of the higher faculties is achieved after that of the lower ones, and that men can perform lower functions well before they can perform higher ones. As understanding and intellectual development will come after the training of the appetite, so also the end of music related to the intellect will be the highest and at the same time the last attained. Imitation of emotion, because the more you understand music harmony, music history, I lost your comment, I'm so sorry. The more that you understand music and harmony, and like you're sensitive to hearing the intervals and things. The harp, yes, Sylvia, yes. Let me finish this thought. The more that you understand that, and it's taken me so many, I'm 30 now, and I started playing when I was 7. There's no way that I could have really understood this when I was 7. We have an inner sense of the inner truth of finding harmony, I think, when we're any age, but it's just like so much more meaningful to me now. And so whenever I listen to like a symphony, it's like this amazing experience. And if I listen to just like singing bowls, I'm like super sensitive to all of that, and it's probably just because I understand a little bit more about music, and so it's just fabulous. It's fabulous. I agree with him. Okay. And I understand like this much, so take that with a grain of salt. Imitation of the emotion will be the first end, in the sense of the most fundamental. This can be gathered from the fact that it is presupposed to both disposing towards virtue and giving pleasure. Because music moves the listener, that it can both please him as it does and help dispose him to virtue by ordering his feelings as well. As we have seen, for Aristotle, disposing towards virtue follows from the pleasure-giving effect of music. In the order of generation, then, the end of music, which is disposing towards virtue, will succeed that of giving pleasure. On the other hand, giving pleasure should be subordinated to disposing towards virtue. Aristotle's conviction that musical pleasure should be subordinated to moral goodness is behind his opinion that instruments which only serve for giving pleasure should not be given to children, for whom music should serve as a means to goodness. To contemplate that. Did you guys understand that? The type of musical pleasure allowed in a given circumstance is measured by whether or not that higher end virtue is sought. From this we can conclude that for Aristotle, pleasure is ultimately subordinated to virtue. I also want to make a little side note here. So I think when we're talking about the ancient Greeks and just the vocabulary that we're using today, when we maybe think of virtue, we have there's all this religious connotation behind it. But I don't know that was really what the ancient Greeks are talking about when they're talking about virtue, or when they're talking about even education. Our thought of education today is so different than what the ancient Greeks thought about education. For example, from the little bit that I know about how the Greeks thought about education, it was an unveiling, a remembering. It was a process of remembering and enlightening your soul. So it wasn't trying to cram all this information down so that you can pass the test. It was that you were learning, and by learning you were enlightening your thought and your consciousness, and moving to this higher realm of being, because you had knowledge, and the concept of knowledge was such a sacred thing, whereas now it's just nobody cares about knowledge. If you're a doctor, you got to know what you're doing. If you're a scientist, you got to know what you're doing. But we just have we have a different view of education, if that makes, like, our vocabulary is different now. So if that makes any sense. Okay. Consequently, Aristotle sees the following order in the ends of music. The most fundamental is imitating emotion. Pleasure follows from this. Disposing towards virtue is above pleasure. Intellectual enjoyment is the highest. The similarity, and then we're getting to a new little section here, the similarity of the ends of music proposed by Plato and Aristotle. Now that we've examined the ends of music proposed by Plato and Aristotle, we can compare them. Plato assigns 4 ends to music. Plato came first and then Aristotle. So you've got, I think, pretty sure. So Plato assigns 4 ends to music: moving the emotions, giving pleasure, disposing towards moral goodness, and disposing towards learning. Aristotle also sees music to have 4 ends: imitating emotion, giving pleasure, disposing towards moral virtue, and giving intellectual enjoyment. Except for the last, these ends readily appear to be the same. So Plato thinks that, let's find the last one for Plato. Disposing towards learning was Plato, and for Aristotle it was giving intellectual enjoyment. So that's interesting. However, a careful examination of what both Plato and Aristotle mean by the last ends of music indicates that they are speaking of essentially the same thing. Page 13, there's 14 pages. Can you stick with me? We're going to finish this article up today, hopefully. As we have seen, Plato sees the 4th end of music as linked to liberal education, giving an indirect rather than a direct preparation for learning. Consequently, this end is tied to the specifically musical rather than the mathematical aspect of music. Yet, as part of a liberal education, music goes beyond disposing towards moral virtue and aims at forming the intellect in some way. So, Aristotle also places music among liberal studies. Furthermore, the intellectual enjoyment given by music is founded on music imitating emotion, rather than the mathematical aspects of music's nature. Finally, since the enjoyment here stems from seeing the order between the imitation and reality, music can prepare someone for knowing and ordering more complex things later on. In speaking of music as either disposing towards learning or in giving intellectual enjoyment, Plato and Aristotle are referring to essentially the same end of music. Though Plato and Aristotle agree on the number and nature of ends of music, they seem to place a different emphasis on music's power to please. Aristotle allows more freedom in the use of various kinds of music, placing more value on music's power to please and seeing it as a less subservient to virtue than does Plato. For instance, Aristotle permits the lower music that is too stirring to be well ordered in terms of virtue to be played at the theater, even though he refers to such music as perverted. That's interesting. Plato, on the other hand, criticizes it as shameful for someone to find pleasure in perverted music, because taking a pleasure in imitations of unregulated emotions inevitably leads to enjoying these emotions themselves. Plato does not deny that pleasure is a measure of goodness in music, but he insists that it is the pleasure of the good man which is the standard. I'll read that again. Plato does not deny that pleasure is a measure of goodness in music, but he insists that it is the pleasure of the good man which is the standard. In fact, he speaks of the songs of the Dionysian choir as being able to, quote, both give the performers an immediate innocent pleasure and provide their juniors with a lesson in proper appreciation of sound character, end quote. Although Plato does not see music as serving just for education, he is undeniably harsher than Aristotle in his attitude toward the type of music permitted to be played for its pleasure-giving effect. One reason seems to be the need which Plato sees for attacking the notion that any pleasure derived from music is the measure of its goodness. That's interesting. Another reason is that Aristotle holds that some people can listen to perverted music and remain untouched if, as children, proper, quote, education will have armed them against the evil influence of such representations, end quote. Even with regard to musical modes, Aristotle is more broad-minded than Plato. Not only does he permit the use of more modes than does Plato, but he even criticizes the other philosopher for his unrealistic attitude towards education through music. He insists that his own position is based on principles of education suited to human nature, not only as what is right and fitting to be taken into account when determining the means of education, but also what is within the scope of one to be educated. According to Aristotle, the nature of the one to benefit from the music determines to some extent the type of music used for education. When we look at certain passages of the Laws, like that's one of his writings, the criticism leveled by Aristotle against the rejection of certain modes in the Republic, that's another writing of his, falls less heavily. As was seen in the discussion of Plato's opinions on music, he forbids the use of certain modes because in excessively stirring up or calming down the listener, they impede rather than foster virtue in him. In the Laws, his writings, the Laws, Plato indicates that the type of music chosen depends on the nature of those performing or benefiting from it. In one place, he speaks of different songs suited to men and women, interesting. In another place, he speaks of 3 choirs distinguished according to the age of the singers. The songs sung by each choir are appropriate to their particular condition. From this, it can be concluded that in some way, although not in exactly the same way as Aristotle, Plato sees the type of music chosen in a particular instance as dependent upon the nature of the one performing or benefiting from it. So it's probably like, if you're an individual, right? We're all individuals. It's up to the individual. In spite of a difference in emphasis, Plato and Aristotle would seem to understand the nature of the ends of music in basically the same way and to see these ends as ordered to each other in essentially the same way. Any opposition between them in these matters is only superficial. There is actually a fundamental similarity in their views on the ends of music and how they ultimately serve man's perfection. And that's the end of the article. It's kind of interesting. You guys still there? So I think that when we like look at the past, the writings about Aristotle and Plato, it can be hard to understand, and I'm probably understanding like this much of what they're really talking about and what they really mean because I haven't really studied the writings of Plato and Aristotle, and I like understanding that Greek thought is it's like something that's like so different from our thought today, as we were talking about, like just the meaning behind the words that were like virtue. Like we talked about, virtue has this kind of like for us this religious connotation, and I don't think that it had that same kind of connotation. It might have just been, here's like going out on a limb, to the ancient Greeks it might have been like the good, whatever they perceived was good. And from reading Boethius, goodness is equated with like a higher enlightened thing. So something that's like the ultimate goodness rather than just kind of like, I don't know, sometimes good can be an empty-ish sounding word for us today, but I just really encourage you to take a look at this book. Boethius was a Roman philosopher. He was probably one of the last Roman philosophers of, while Rome was, doing its thing, disintegrating. I would definitely get this book, and you'll start to learn the ancient Greek thought, at least, the little bit that I know of it from Boethius is so beautiful. You have to feed your mind good things too, because we're a product of our thoughts. Music is a product of our thoughts too, like we're creating this thing, and there's an underlying truth behind harmony, which we can control and manipulate and all of that kind of thing. We can make it sound chaotic and ugly and crazy. Sometimes life is crazy and chaotic, and like hearing really chaotic, crazy music that has no structure and has no like direction, it's just chaos. Sometimes we need to hear that so that we can, if our life is that way too, we can know, oh, that's, I relate to that. That's how I feel. And I also don't like feeling that way. So anyway, it's just, I really encourage you to take a look at this really ancient thought. Take a look at the Greeks, study the philosophers, and read Boethius, because the thought is so beautiful. And I don't know. I won't say any more about anything else. So with that, I think I'm going to love and leave you guys. Thank you so much for being here. We are at 11 people and 11 thumbs up right now, which is really cool. 11. So that's a good cue. It's Friday. We're going to have a lovely... Oh, play something. Okay, I should play something. Let's see. Oh my gosh, you know what I'm going to play for you? I'm going to play for you the Sikalos Epitaph. This is an ancient Greek little song. We've played it before. Let's see. Sikalos Epitaph. And hopefully this works. Let me search for it here. Sikalos Epitaph. There we go. Now there's words to this. This is the oldest song. Oh yes, I should also tell you about the harp. It has been repaired, and I think that it is going to be shipped out next week, and I'm so excited. We're going to open it together and just have a big party when it arrives. So I hope so. It took a long time to repair, so I have to be like extra careful with this little thing. This is the Sikalos Epitaph, you guys, from ancient Greece. Not ancient Greece. This is from the 1st century AD Greece. So not ancient Greece, but still Greece. While you live, shine, have no grief at all. Life exists only for a short while, and time demands his due. Okay. Here's the little melody that goes with it. And I'm going to put on a D cello drone in the background. Let's see. Also, my stomach might gurgle because I'm hungry. Magical Earthling. This is one of the oldest songs that we have, complete songs. While you live, shine, have no grief at all. Life exists only for a short while, and time demands its due. And that's it. Pretty. I'm gonna turn that down. All right, you guys, so with that, I'm gonna love and leave you. Have a magical, fabulous day. Find ways that you can, oh my goodness, Krister, I was cutting out the hedge and completely lost track of time. Oh, I'm so happy that you cut out the hedge and you made it here. You guys, thank you so much. Mary, Ashwani, thank you so very much for being here. This was so fun, our fabulous tiny little gathering. And at the beginning of this, we talked about intuitive playing. So if you missed that, it was interesting. You can use a scale and a drone to help you intuitively play. Let that inner music out. Let the beauty of harmony lead you. Open up so that you can, follow that harmony. And the notes will lead you. Your ear will lead you, and you'll just be taught by the universe. So that's my thoughts on it, at least. There's a psychic development class that I'm taking every Saturday. If you go to psychicbobhickman.com, I think it is. I'll link it below. It's every Saturday. It's 12 to 2 Eastern Standard Time. I think he opens it up at like 11:30. It's $30 to join, and I am so excited for this class. Like, I can't stop talking. Hello, Ernestina. Thank you for being here. It's we're going to be learning about clairaudience, which is, I guess, spiritually hearing, the ability to hear. So you know, if you don't agree with it, that's fine too. Like how do you know if you don't know? And to be taught from an actual psychic about it, you know, would be an actual psychic medium who's been doing this for 30 years and who's a lovely, sweet person. I mean, $30 is a great deal, honestly. So that is on Saturdays, intuitively playing, and also, you know, the song "Girls Just Want to Have Fun." Well, it's true. Not just girls. We all just want to have fun. We just want to be happy. Boethius is talking about that. We all just want to be happy in life, you know. And sometimes life and they call them the fates. Fate can take things away from us, right? The muse or the goddess fate, I forget what it is. Anyway, sometimes fate gives us good things. Fortune, that's what it is, fortune. Sometimes fortune is fortunate to us, but sometimes fortune is really unfortunate to us. And so I just, what did I say? I, Nelson Felix. What was I saying? Yeah, so sometimes, you know, if we're just kind of following the compass of fortune, then sometimes the rug will get pulled out from under our feet, you know? And so there has to be something higher that we're leaning on in times of hardship. So, you know, sometimes in his writing, there was one little section where he's talking about even kings worry, you know, even if power is your thing that you're striving for, even if you're a king and an emperor, you're still gonna go to bed worried at night sometimes. If money is your thing, when you have lots and lots of money, you're gonna have all your thought and focus trying to look after it, trying to protect it, trying to do this, trying to do that, maybe managing even people's way that they treat you because you have lots of money. If love is your thing, if whatever it is, whatever your thing is, that maybe there is something that's beyond that can, you know, be your compass that keeps you like on a happy path. So anyway, explore this book, check out the ancient Greek thoughts on things, read Plato and Aristotle. I've ordered a few books of the ancient Greeks. I'll share them with you. You know I'm obsessed with the ancient Greeks. And that all came because of the medieval music. Medieval music is heavily influenced by the Greeks. And, and Nelson Felix. Thank you, Ernestina. I'm not sure who that is. I'll have to check that out. And Nelson Felix. Thank you, lovely. I sometimes my mind's like juggling 3,000 things at once, so if I say things wrongly, I apologize. So, yeah, read, express your fabulousness, and do something. Don't take yourself too seriously, you know, just try to have fun. Just have fun, laugh, be fabulous. And I will see you guys very soon. Follow me on Instagram so that we can bother each other during the week. You can follow the things that I'm doing. Sometimes I post, you know, fun. I think they're fun, otherwise I wouldn't share them. Fun things. Patreon is a little resource for you. It's $1 to subscribe to that. There's another tier now, which is the Studio Circle, where you can come to my Studio Circle, like join the studio on Zoom. We have a once a month class on Zoom at the end of the month. And you can, you know, listen to people from the studio play and share their thoughts and just ask questions and have fun and everything. And I'm learning how to teach a group on Zoom, so I hopefully will learn how to do that through practice, you know, trial and error. But anyways, lots of love, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you very soon. Bye. Oh my gosh, now we're at 13 people and 13 thumbs up. That's awesome. 13. All right, you guys. Mwah. Love you, love you, love you. Have a wonderful weekend too, you guys. Bye. Let me see if I can figure out how to turn this off. Bye, bye, bye. Oh, there we go.